Okay, good afternoon for all of you. Most of you already are familiar with what we are doing in ENETWILD. And this topic of data collection is going through for so many years now. And we are always mentioning that we have to focus on data collection. We need more data. But in fact, what is this data? What are the challenges which we are facing? In my title of my presentation, there is a proposals for automatizing and streamlining the process. This is the thing which maybe I will not give you too much hints about how to solve those problems and how to tackle the second part of my title. But I would like you, each of you, think about the solutions. Because after some years, when we are running the ENETWILD already, and we were collecting the data, and each of us was struggling with many difficulties, I think that this meeting is also showing up amount of the work which we did, amount of the outcomes which we managed to do, and the problems which we managed to overcome. And for those even who were data providers, I would like to show you what in fact is behind this email when you're sending us the data and telling, okay, this is the hunting data for this and that year, what we are doing and what we would like to have answers from you, how to make that process a little bit maybe better and more effective. At the beginning, for those who are maybe not really focused and not really digging deep into the topic, what kind of the data in general we are collecting? We were focusing on three types of the data: density, occurrence, and hunting data, which give us the overview what is going on in Europe. But to fulfill those three fields, which sounds pretty trivial, we need to go through many documents and adjust many different types of documents, the data standards which were coming. For example, for density, to get any information about the density, we were checking up hunting statistics, reports, publication, but also statistical yearbooks. For occurrence data, which are rather like point information, which is like giving us direct information about the presence of animal in that certain point and a time, we were using the citizen science. So eMammalia was a great help in that. But also for some countries, roadkill reports or media in the news also give us the information, those which we could give exact coordinations. For hunting data, well, for that, we were basically using the hunting statistics. But not only the hunters are reporting the hunting data also sometimes were included in statistical yearbooks. So the problem with those two parallel sources, I will show you later on. Okay, there should be some nice animals. Okay, but fortunately, we have that ruminants and carnivores. So if you will think about that, okay, we are collecting only three types of data: density, occurrence, and hunting data. But if you will multiply that with the number of ruminants and carnivores, so how many species we have to collect and handle, it starts to be really a huge amount of work, a huge amount of data, which we need to collect, maintain, and prepare for being quite usable for many different sources. With the wild boar, the wild boar was the focus target and the first target for us. So we are pretty expertise in this species. As you see, for a wild boar, we managed to cover almost whole continent with the data, with quite good resolution of that. So that was the species which shows us that if we will focus on collecting the data, we can do something which is not available anywhere. Also, wild boar was quite important because due to the African swine fever, which shows up, and then it was quite easy to show and explain why we are asking about the wild boar data. This map and the whole work which was done by Joaquin and this whole ENETWILD consortium just give us the information that if you try to create a network and to grab all the available data in one place, you can do that. That's why we went for different species. Of course, as I mentioned, with wild boar, we were pretty successful. We later on tried to collect the data for different species as well. The more dark the square is, the more countries are covered. For some of those, I'm not referring to Mammalia, which was also helping in collecting the occurrence data. But if we will look through any media information, we see that hunting data, it's the basic information which is covering most of the species from the most of countries. So this is the source on which we should rely, looking for hunting data, especially that densities are also sometimes calculated in the areas where you have hunting clubs and hunting is going on. But the problem is how reliable are those data, those informations which hunters are providing. With the hunting data, we know that if an animal was shot, it's dead, it's only one animal, and the hunters are reporting. So each year we are getting the data with the same standards. We managed to collect quite good information for ungulates and for carnivores. If we choose the best representatives, was the fox and the badger, which give us the most coverage all across the Europe with the best resolution. But what about the other species? If we are collecting the data in a good quality, so it's like density, hunting, those three packages, we can do the modeling, which is helping us also with the predictions. As you can see here, we have observed hunting bags for different species. But then those squares were lynx and the wolf. So you can see that then we can predict about other species, even if we don't have really good resolution data, if we don't have a good quality information, we can give an idea about the availability of the habitats for different species and their occurrence, even though they are not sometimes reported in those hunting statistics or yearbooks. But with whom we are in fact cooperating. This graph is showing who we did try to contact. Of course, we are going to mostly to two types of people, to administration and to academia. The thing is that most of our data and our cooperation, even throughout the ENETWILD, it relies on academia because most of us have a scientific background, and this is easier for us to communicate. Out of that graph, we have that a lot of contacts with administration, which I don't know how it was in most of you, but in case of Poland and surrounding countries, in many cases it failed. So we still struggling this problem that if we are asking for the data, what does it mean for administration scientists? Those people still need to have good databases, those data ready to be passed. Otherwise, we are just sitting by the desk and checking up the pages and looking, even if it's in local language, and it's like statistical yearbooks where most of us most probably were never using on our daily basis. But what is so to understand what we are facing, what we are dealing with, our current data processing workflow means that we still need to find the raw data, which are sometimes in really different formats. It can be web bases available, it can be sometimes yearbooks or reports written in local languages. We are there looking for maps, for numbers, for something on which we can stick on and get the values. Sometimes we are lucky and we are getting the nice Excel tables where everything is smoothly corrected and we can use it. But those cases are not most common ones. Then, based on our cooperation in ENETWILD, we managed to first develop the standards, how this raw data should be processed. So first, the wildboard data models and the data management Excel files were developed. But since we went up from only checking up the wildboars up to carnivores and ruminants, we had to develop a little bit more. So we are from really raw information going to something which is at least structurized, adding also GIS shapefiles, which is also giving us the information in quite unified standard. But also something which Joaquin mentioned, then just to be clear that everything is in the same level of organization, we decide to try to transfer those data into the Darwin Core standard. So this is the most accurate part where we can get. Not easy to transform, because if you will see from where we had to start from the sometimes PDF files and going to the standards, which is accepted on the bigger areas, it was not really easy. But our idea is to have the flow according to this standards. So we can work on the raw data, cleaning it up, just to prepare and be able to give us the reports, and that those data will be usable later on for reuse, no matter what kind of the standards you were working at the beginning. Now, at this moment, we are at how our transfer of the data is going. So this workflow at the beginning, which I showed you, it's basically this arrow. So we are collecting the data from the countries where all of partners are connected. So ENETWILD consortium is just binding up different countries, different standards, and we are trying to create something a little bit more similar, uploading that to repository in the standards which can be reused. And based on that, we have two ways of communication to EFSA, just to make those data available and reliable. It's like by writing the reports and preparing the publications and informing people that we have those data, we managed to standardize them and showing up on a bigger scale, or transferring the data on a request. If it's needed, we can easily have the data which is standardized, prepared, and grouped together as it should be. So, of course, it's not so easy if you will try to follow all those rules. So what are the challenges? The challenges are most probably not only those three which I mentioned here. For sure, the different types of the data. So the hunting, occurrence, and density. Hunting are real numbers of the animals which were shot. Occurrence are point data where we can have the direct coordinates. But with the density, in many cases, it's just predictions. Predictions how many individuals might be in that area. If you want to group that and have quite good information out of those three different types of data, it's not so easy. Also, the problem is that there are many data sources. So we have to dig through many different repositories, because if any of you are a scientist, and even if you're thinking, if you would need to obtain the data about the wild boar or red deer from your country, are you sure that you know the exact sources where those data might be stored? Most probably not, because there are some scientists which are working on their own fields, but still those data are not unified and they are really scattered. Also, the thing which is our advantage and disadvantage, on the other hand, it's also a wide range of species. So we are covering many different species. We are trying to get as much as possible. But what are also both those things are overlapping. So we do have also some bottlenecks. So what is causing that, even though the data is available, it's difficult to reach them later on. Data can be very scattered. So we are getting some information from here, some information from there. Sometimes even within the country, we don't have like clear pattern that we are covering all parts. Often data is published in reports or yearbooks only in local languages. So if you don't have direct contact to somebody who might translate and give you the hint how to look for this data, it's really difficult to do everything in the Google Translator. And so getting on the same level might be really challenging. Also, there are delays with data publication. For example, if you have data from hunting grounds and amount about how many animals was shot in a hunting period, it might be that data will be published in the next year. For example, in our case, we are still waiting for Russia to publish the data from 2021, and they are not in a rush to do so. Also, people are not sometimes willing to share their data. So we have, for example, we managed to find the publication, we know the source, we have a map in publication, and then you're going to corresponding author and they said, no, I'm not going to share you my data. It's fine, maybe, but it's not fine for us. The thing also with the bottleneck, when data is shared. So, okay, when we are asking to administration, they are giving us the data, but then we are asking them to sign the data sharing agreement that we are sure that we can pass this data and make it public or not public, or what are the terms of use that data. And then the problem starts, like Oliver was facing that we are asking, can you sign the data sharing agreement? And it starts, no, I'm not going to sign them. They should sign it. And you're going into different directions, trying to find who's responsible, because if somebody is sharing, then yeah, what should be the problem? I guess this is something like in the back of your mind, that if you will sign up the document, this is like certificate that you did that and you give those informations. Otherwise, it's like some kind of the data shared with the scientist, most probably. but also methodological problems with adjusting data to common format. Oh yeah, like we are getting the data with the different varieties and different understanding. We in Poland also faced some things that, for example, we are getting the data, we are almost sure that it's calculated perfectly, sending up, and after, for example, 1 year, while talking with somebody, it's ending up like, okay, what was the background? How did you calculate the densities over there? And it's like, yeah, we predicted that there will be so many animals. In Poland, it's clearly visible in our hunting data when the golden jackal appears to be in Poland. And there were a few records when we had the golden jackals, most probably golden jackals showing up in Poland. And it was included in the list of hunting of game species. In the next year, when you will see the statistics, golden jackals were present all across the country, in all hunting clubs, and sometimes even like 20 individuals living in the area of a hunting club, even though nobody have ever seen that over there. But yeah, this was one of the examples from our background, but those examples were even more. So if we will try to look for the data, and you will compare the yearbooks, reports, and hunting data statistics, they do not merge. So if for some years we do have yearbook reports, and then we want to use the hunting statistics data, we are facing a serious problem, because for yearbooks, the year is something when they are gathering the data. For hunting statistics, is a hunting period, which starts in March, April, and ends up at the April of the next year. But for example, also sometimes if you have, maybe in Slovenia, you have quite a little bit smaller ranges, but if I'm asking or getting the data from Russia, they are giving me one value per region. Okay, nice. And their region sometimes might be bigger than even Poland. So then if you will get such a value, you don't know if it's reported number of hunted individuals and you should stick to that, or we are excluding those values at all. Our region also got those quite problematic countries apparently, because for example, when the conflict between Russia and Ukraine starts, we had that we got the report about the values from when Ukraine was reporting and the Russia was reporting from the same territories as well. And the values was totally different. Most probably, maybe this is not on the between country level, but sometimes if you have a hunters reporting and NGOs reporting and areas are overlapping, what to do, what to choose as a more reliable data. We have also the lovely data from Belarus, when we were 100% sure that although they are reporting hunting bugs as densities, so like 0.58 individual per hectare, okay, we decided that let it be. If they want to like go on from numbers into the densities reported, then it's fine. But then after 3 years, we realized that they are reporting and referring to per hectare, not of the area, but about the area available or preferable for certain species in that region. And when we asked, can you give us this value? How did you divide it? They said, no, we cannot. So then we are ending up with some kind of values which are not connected to anything. And it ends up that we had to, in Belarus, in collecting the data from Belarus, we had to start from scratch. But also there are some countries where there is no data available. At this moment, it's Armenia, Azerbaijan, and we have some points, the information from Georgia. But from those countries, if you want to have like reliable information, even if we are going to university, to scientists, they cannot give us the real numbers and the real values that we can compare to other countries in Europe. So what we can do? The problems are the crucial thing, which is developing the solutions. And I hope that this meeting will give us also some hints, maybe from your backgrounds, maybe from your perspective. For sure, we need to have some common standards, how we will be uploading the data, developing everything, and also the way how to automatize the data digitalization in the right format, so that when whoever wants to store the data, get the information back, will get that in the same standard. Maybe like elaborating of European yearbook of hunting statistics on the same background would be something which could solve us the problems. And for sure, we need a campaign of the relevance for the data. So how passing up the information, passing up even the raw data can change how the people think about their environment, about what's going on in the area. But those solutions are still in front of us, and I think that ETSIO will have a lot of work in developing the standards and facing up all the problems and bottlenecks which we managed to map during the ENETWILD 1.0. So this is from my side. I think that all of you, or many of you, have your own thoughts about the data. And I'm really glad that we can meet like now in person and talk about what is the workflow, because sometimes we are only in a rush of sending the data, of getting it, or sometimes tired up of emails, but we are not looking on the whole scale, what is available, what we are doing, and maybe some solutions which we personally managed to develop could help to solve the problems in which other partners face. So thank you very much.